Oh, maybe it has to finish doing the YouTube before it will. All right, so live on YouTube. Let me get us live on Facebook. Maybe. All right, if you're on YouTube, great, awesome. Glad to see you. Give me just a moment. We're going to go live on Facebook, and then we'll get this thing started. All right, start going to there. And a group. Thanks. Almost there. One more step. Okay. Right. Oh, it's showing a dual thing here, so that's bonus. Is it live or no? Okay, it's giving me the option. I can add like a title and stuff on Facebook, so maybe I need to do Facebook first and then YouTube. Okay. So if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize. This is our first time using the new software to do our Saturday Morning Mastermind. We had a few technical difficulties, and we're just getting going here. We're trying to go live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time, so bear with me. Give me just a moment here. What are we talking about this morning? Chapter 13. Whoa. I think I need to go live on Facebook first because I can add all this information and then click live on YouTube. That way we start right away versus having this little delay. Yeah, because it's giving me opportunity. Okay. All right, here we go. We are going live on Facebook. How exciting is that? All right, good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, and hopefully we are live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. I'm going to open up Facebook here in just a second. So if you are watching, then by all means, leave us a comment below the video. Let us know that you're out there, and let us know how this is going. This is actually our first official Saturday Morning Mastermind live on Facebook. I did a little test the other day, and hoping it's going to work good. So like I said, if you're watching, leave us a comment. Let us know if we're clear, if we sound okay, if we're delayed, choppy, etc., etc. We greatly appreciate your feedback on that. And while I'm monitoring here in the background, I'm going to have my friend Dan lead our discussion today. And if I didn't already say it, I'm Samantha Studebaker-Carl, broadcasting to you from beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana, here with my good friend Dan Sizik. And I'm going to mute out Dan, and I'm going to let you take it away for our discussion. Oh, I forgot to say what we were talking about. I'll let you introduce that.
Well, I can cover that really quick. Right now we're in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. We're on the 13th chapter, How to Stop Procrastinating by Using a 2-Minute Rule. And I was lucky enough to have time to read this chapter last night. And a very interesting chapter and good. And I think it's something we all in our back of our heads kind of have the ideas of what he's talks about and espouses in here, but I'll just go ahead and read the opening part of it. He says, Twyla Tharp is widely regarded as one of the greatest dancers and choreographers of the modern era. In 1992, she was awarded a MacArthur Fellowship, often referred to as the Genius Grant, and she has spent the bulk of her career touring the globe to perform her original works. She also credits much of her success to simple daily habits. Now remember, this is the cue, the simple daily habits. She says, I begin each day of my life with a ritual, she writes. I wake up at 5:30 a.m., put on my workout clothes, my leg warmers, my sweatshirt, and my hat. I walk outside my Manhattan home, hail a taxi, and tell a driver to take me to the Pumping Iron Gym on 91st Street and First Avenue, where I work out for 2 hours. So now, most of you probably think the ritual is getting up and going to the gym. But actually, she says, the ritual is not the stretching and the weight training I put my body through each morning at the gym. The ritual is the cab. The moment I tell the driver where to go, I have completed the ritual. And he goes on and covers this a little better and explains it a little better. A lot of times when we get started and we want to take on a new habit or start making changes in our life, we tend to say, oh, I'm going to do this, and we jump in full steam ahead. I've done this personally, and a lot of times to not the true effect I wanted, and it's because we bite off a bigger chunk than what we really should. We jump in and try and do it all at once, and what he talks about is breaking it down to the little actions, and as he talks later in the book, breaking it down into 2-minute little action steps that you can take. Pardon me, it's Saturday. I like to sleep in, but because we do this, I get up and you would think I'd be wide awake, but I'm not quite wide awake yet. But we jump in and we don't break the steps down into these little manageable steps that we can do. So in here he talks about like the 2-minute rule, and I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but it goes into even when you know you should start small, it's easy to start too big. When you dream about making change, excitement inevitably takes over, and you end up trying to do too much too soon. And he talks about the most effective way to counteract this is by the 2-minute rule. So you'll find that nearly any habit can be scaled down into a 2-minute version. Read before bed each night becomes read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Study for class becomes open my notes. Fold the laundry becomes fold 1 pair of socks. And run 3 miles becomes it's tie my running shoes. And in the preceding parts of this, he kind of goes over and tells how each decision we make to start and do something kind of sets the tone for our day. And we can set ourselves up for good days, or we can set up ourselves for bad days based on those little decisive moments. And he calls them decisive moments where, you think, okay, this morning, like Samantha's talked about, starting the new habit of on her exercise bike. But there have been times where she's laid in bed and thought, I don't really want to do this today. I want to just stay comfy in my bed, and we've all done that, or hit the snooze button. That was a decisive moment, and that could lead us into making more decisive decisions down the road that kind of follow that same thought. Or we can take the thought and say, no, I'm going to get up. I'm going to put on my workout clothes. I'm going to, as she does, she has her little things she does to get into the, exercise. I'm going to do those steps, but she has kind of broken them down to smaller steps, like get up, put on her clothes, go get a drink of coffee, then do these. And I would assume several of them take very minimal time. Others might take maybe drinking her morning coffee or whatever. But the idea is she's built in these little steps and rituals that help her obtain that long-term goal of doing the exercising. And it's made it easier for her to do that every day and fulfill it every day, rather than, oh, I'm going to jump in and ride for 45 minutes this morning, right at the start. And when we do that, we tend to bite off more, and that's why we tend to fail. I think that's why people at the beginning of the year when they make New Year's resolutions, go all gung-ho, for lack of a better meaning, balls to the wall, just going out there and going to exercise, and they haven't set themselves up to get that body in that daily habit of the ritual, because habits after a while become ingrained and they become stored, as we talked and covered. And if you would like to know what we covered before and in the past of this book, you can always catch our replays and stuff on YouTube on our Mindset Mastery channel. You can go there and look at that and get caught up on what we've been talking about, what we're covering. But habits, they're like I get up each morning and I do my certain things before I go to work, and I just kind of do them on autopilot. And I'm sure that Samantha does things like that. So with that, that's what he's laying the groundwork for. And then he goes into just kind of expounding more on how to really break down and get into making things more readily, so our body becomes into that habit, and therefore it doesn't feel like doing the big thing feels like work. But if we do the little 2-minute things, it's not so hard. I can say, oh, I can get up and put on my pants, as opposed to get up and do this, and this whole laundry list of things that your brain's already going, alrighty, that's too much. Stop. I don't want to do this, and I'm going to pull the covers back over my head and just stay here because that's too much. What do you think, Samantha? Do you have any thoughts on what I've gone over a little bit and said? And do you agree with anything?
Yeah, for sure. And I I'll be honest, I was kind of a little distracted at the beginning when you started, but I did tune into what you're talking about a little bit later. But yeah, I know you were talking about me with my exercise bike, and that first decision that you make, in the morning, it determines everything as far as if you're doing a new habit in the morning. Obviously, this book talks about, that's that first decision that can lead you towards a good day or a bad day, but every decision after that, depending on what habit you're trying to create. I like how he's talking about this part here where it says that you'll find in nearly any habit can be sealed down into a 2-minute version. Did you read that when you were talking? Yeah, okay. So, I use this a lot when I feel, overwhelmed by a lot of stuff. Like this week, we've been really, really busy, and my husband's giggling in the background about my stress level for this week. But I get really stressed out when I have this like big, enormous thing in front of me that I need to accomplish, and all the copies in the Stanleys. Sorry, I've been reorganizing and everything looks different too. I'm trying to clean everything out of here so that it's easy for this party. But anyway, so using this as an example, I know it's not necessarily a new habit, but it kind of plays into the aspect of being stressed out about trying to accomplish this big thing, whether it's a big new habit you're trying to do or whether, whatever it is. And for me, it's just taking that first step. And I just made a list. I'm like, this is all the stuff that has to get done. And, I made this list, and now I'm just going to do, one thing at a time and do these one little things. So I really like how it talks about that, because I've had a number of different things that are just kind of bigger projects that I'm feeling overwhelmed by. And I'm like, nope, I'm just going to do this one little thing. And every time I take a bite out of this big thing, I know that I've made some progress. For instance, we've got a storage unit that we're trying to get cleaned out. I mean, it's a huge storage unit with a ton of stuff in there. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to try and do it all in one day. I'm just going to do a little bit at a time and know that if I just keep doing a little bit, that it's going to be accomplished. And, and I've been looking at my exercise routine in that same way. And, and it's working out really well. When I don't feel like I have to do this enormous task all at once, it's easier to make that decision that that's what I'm going to do. So when my alarm goes off in the morning, I'm much less likely to hit the snooze button if I know I'm just going to get up, I'm going to make the coffee, and then I'm just going to spend a few minutes doing my qigong, and then I'm going to spend a few minutes doing my bicycle, and then pack my lunch, and then get ready for work, et cetera, et cetera. And it just kind of all goes in that process, and it's just a lot easier. And and I don't know if it's the same for everybody. Maybe other people, can have a big huge task in front of them and just start digging in and be perfectly happy and not have to do a little bit at a time. I mean, I guess it just depends on everybody, and everybody has their own way of dealing with things. But over the years, I've just discovered in the past couple of years, it's just take a small bite. It's so much easier.
Yeah, I agree. And like for me, a lot of times, especially around my house, there are things I really want to accomplish and do, and I tend to focus on that. Like, okay, I want to do this whole big thing, and then I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot. I don't know how to do all that, or you know, these tasks because like I want to put some new flooring down. I don't have all of it, but the thought of I've never done that before. I'd rather have somebody come help me or something like that. But I'm gonna have to get in and YouTube it and look it up and But that thought, But to me, to maybe make that process, just look. Okay, say look up the YouTube stuff first. Get that down. Break that down. I understand those steps, write them down, take notes, whatever I have to do to thoroughly get it, and then do the next step, preparing a little bit, getting things, that might be it. But I wanted to read this one part in the book where he says, habits are like the entrance ramp to a highway. They lead you down a path, and before you know it, you're speeding toward the next behavior. It seems to it seems to be easier to continue what you're already doing than to start doing something different. You sit through a bad movie for 2 hours, keep snacking even when you're already full. You check your phone for just a second, and noting that in parentheses, just a second, because we've all done that, and have spent 20 minutes staring at the screen. In this way, the habits you follow without thinking often determine the choices you make when you are thinking. So that's how he, kind of relays the decisive moments thing. You know, it's if you break it down back to those little chunks, I think you can make better decisions to affect your whole day outcome rather than, the big decision. And then when you're done and you're overwhelmed and you're just so disgusted or so frustrated or so upset or so mad at yourself, you're spiraling down that, you kind of, and throw your hands up and go, oh, well, I've already done this, or oh, there's just, and you kind of get caught up in that mode because I know I've done that. And so with that, I think that's why, this chapter, I really like this chapter because of the fact that, scaling it down, if you look at, construction people or house builders or, building buildings or, anything of, you know, big, they always scale it down and start, okay, let's build a foundation first. Let's build this. Let's get that built first. So we have that basic plan set in place so we know what we're following. And then, put the walls up and then figure out where we're going to put the rooms and that. And, okay, can we put a second? Is it going to be sturdy? Need to put more, you know, poles that are, poles up for walls and, heavy steel beams to, hold the load above. So, I think if we kind of look at, that building block thing, that's what can make our progress better and make us better able to achieve the goals that we want, you know. And he makes an interesting case about how this worked. He said, one of my readers used a strategy to lose over 100 pounds. In the beginning, he went to the gym each day, but he told himself he wasn't allowed to stay for more than 5 minutes. He would go to the gym, exercise for 5 minutes, and leave as soon as his time was up. After a few weeks, he looked around and thought, well, I'm always coming here anyway. I might as well start staying a little longer. A few years later, the weight to me, it doesn't even seem like he was thinking about the weight. He was just thinking about the showing up, and he talks about that in the book about showing up, just being showing up to that moment where you make those small little 2-minute decisions. And I think in that showing up in those small little moments are real catalyst for a change rather than doing the to just tackle it all at once, like you did with your list. You know, you did the list. Okay, I'll do that one. Oh, that's checked off. Scratch it and don't have to worry about it. Don't have to stress about it. Go on to the next one. And I was more of a list type person, but then I'm one of those that argue, but I don't want to be confined to, I'm kind of like going more with the flow, but sometimes going with the flow does not help achieve what you want. And you have to kind of be willing to meet halfway and down to where you get the habit started, and then you can kind of be a little more flexible as you move on, because then you've already got the habit started, you're in the flow of it. Then you can add other things, and he talks about stacking a little bit and doing things and adding to it, but you've got that initial basic wiring in your brain and your body that this is what I do and this is how I do it, and you can go from there. But like I said, his chapters are always seem to me very short, quick, easy. What he was talking about was habit shaping, so that's what it was. And you can do habit shaping, and he gives some examples of it. Habit phase 1, becoming an early riser, be home by 10 p.m. every night. Then phase 2, have all devices, TV, phone, etc., turned off by 10 p.m. every night. Then phase 3, be in bed by 10 p.m. every night, reading a book, talking with your partner. Phase 4, lights off by 10 p.m. every night. And phase 5, then you set your alarm to make sure you wake up at 6 a.m. every day, and then make sure you follow that. So that's one example, and he gives a few others in the book. And I think that's a great way of how you can, chunk it down and really get yourself into that. I don't really know if there's a lot, because like I said, the chapter was forward. I don't know if there's anything you have to add or want to cover or throw out there, Samantha.
Well, I feel like just talking about this just a little bit more, just the fact that he's talking about, uh, any larger life goal can be transformed into 2-minute behavior. And I just like that reminder, just because of the fact that it just sometimes stuff just seems like such a huge undertaking. And, and I think that's true with new habits you want to create, as well as just big stuff that you want to get done. And, not, not too long ago we moved. And, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, oh gosh, we have so much stuff, and there's this, I've got to do all that, la 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 la. And my husband at the time, he was working full time, and I was working my retail job part time, and I was looking at the house going, gosh, we got all this stuff packed and be able to move. And when I was sitting there looking at it, I was just feeling overwhelmed. I only have like this small window of time every day. How am I possibly going to get all this done? And I was like, well, you just got to start. Just start with one little thing. Pack one box, organize one shelf. Just one little thing at a time. And so I can definitely see how this can work with habits as well, because this has helped me enormously in my life with just letting myself not be so stressed out about big stuff. Now, when things are coming up and, there's this big thing that's going to happen at the beginning, I always get overwhelmed with it. And I just have to remind myself just to relax, and I can just do one little thing at a time, because you can only do one thing at a time anyway. You may as well just be like, okay, I can just do this one thing today, and I can just make that one little difference, and that kind of releases the pressure off. And and I feel like with diet and exercise, it's the same thing as just with me and my diet. I'm just doing one meal different right now, which is my lunch. I have a lot more control over my lunch because I can pack it ahead of time, and I can and just tell myself, I'm not going to eat out at lunch. That's just one meal. I'm just absolutely not going to eat out. I'm going to eat what's in my lunch, so I don't have to think about it. I don't have to make decisions about what I'm going to eat in a moment when I'm hungry. I just pack the same thing every single day with the exception of like maybe one item. And then it just makes it simple. And I think that's the biggest key to this in this chapter. It's just make it freaking simple and small so that when it's easy to do. And, if you do those easy things, then, eventually all those easy things add up. And we talked about that a lot in the book, The Slight Edge, too, by Jeff Olson. He was talking about the what did he call the curve? It was like this, I don't know, the whatever kind of curve. I can't remember what he called it necessarily. I guess you could call it pretty much anything you want. Just the compounding curve of little things add up over time and become bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe not necessarily because of the amount of time you're spending on them, but more of the accumulated effect that it's having on you. So for instance, with my exercise bike, is just doing that every day for 10 minutes a day, I'm noticing, okay, this is feeling like it's not really taking me any effort to do this. And so then I'm like, all right, well, I'll just turn the tension up a little bit. I'm still doing 10 minutes. I'm just increasing the tension level. So I'm obviously gaining more stamina, gaining a little bit more strength in my legs, probably increasing my heart ability. Those little things, and over time, that can have a profound effect. And with any habit that you're doing, just when you're trying to change your diet and lose weight, I think we try so hard to just lose it all at once when it really makes more sense to just do little things over a long period of time so that we can get ourselves into a better habit of eating in the first place. And then that, by virtue of doing that, then we lose the weight versus just trying to, fast for 30 days and hope for the best. I mean, you may lose a bunch of weight really fast, but then at the end of your fast, what are you going to do with the rest of your diet? You're going to just jump right back on the same stuff again? Probably. I know I have. I mean, when I do drastic changes, that's generally what happens, is that, I'm faced with some situation where I don't have those foods available, or I don't have time to make the foods, et cetera, and then I'm just like, I need to eat something, so then fast food, or bag of chips, or whatever, so that's it for now. I don't know, is anybody out there with what habits are you working on trying to change? Dan, do you have something you're working on?
Well, I was going to jump out and add something from a little bit from where I was going back through the book a little bit more to remind myself of some, and I found a portion of the book where, and he's talked about journalizing, but he kind of makes this point. He says, journaling provides another. Nearly everyone can benefit from getting their thoughts out of their head and onto paper, but most people give up after a few days or avoid it entirely because journaling feels like a chore. The secret is to always stay below the point where it feels like work, and I think that's kind of what we've been alluding to, is keeping it below where we feel like it work or it's overwhelming. The secret is Greg McKeown, a leadership consultant from the United Kingdom, built a daily journaling habit by specifically writing less than he felt like. He always stopped journaling before it seemed like a hassle. Ernest Hemingway believed in a similar advice for any kind of. The best way is to always stop when you are going good. Strategies like this work for another reason too. They've reinforced the identity you want to build, and this is the part I really wanted to get into. If you show up at the gym 5 days in a row, even if it's just for 2 minutes, you're casting votes for your new identity. You're not worried about getting in shape. You're a bit focused on becoming the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. You're taking the smallest action that confirms the type of person you want to be. I think if we remember that, and when we do want to make change and change habits or bring in new habits, think of how we want to, reinforce that identity of that person we want to become, and use that as our motivation. Use the little steps, the little 2-minute steps or whatever, to get us there, and kind of phase out, or not phase out, but kind of blur the picture of the, oh, I got to lose 15 pounds, or I got to lose 20 pounds, or I want to, focus on taking the little steps to reach that end result. And I think, again, as we've talked about, it gets you to where you want to be, and therefore you're not caught up. Oh, I'm at the gym and I don't like lifting weights. I don't. But if you focus on the aspect and who you're wanting to become, and keep that as your, and do it, long enough till whatever 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever frame is that works and is appropriate to where you get what you want done, but you're not overwhelming yourself to make it feel like, oh, this is such a chore, or like when you're at work and you have all these things you have to do, and you have to do them because you're at work and they need to get done, but you have bosses coming in, this coming in, that coming in, I need to, and, that can get stressful. But here, when you're building your new habits, you have control, and you can take that control and take back some of the control in your life that so many of us feel that we don't have. And I think that's another thing to remember, is it gives you the control and puts it back in your hands, rather than feeling so overwhelmed and everything is just, and that you're out of control and you can't do it. Anything else?
Yeah, I just really like that reminder of, just doing the little things so it doesn't feel like work. I like that. That's pretty powerful. And I use that a lot when you just do one little thing so it doesn't feel like work. Like with our storage units, I'm like, let's just stop by there and grab one box, and we'll bring it home and I'll put it in my spare room, and then the next day go through the box, that's just little things. So, I love that, because it's really amazing how much you can accomplish just by doing one little thing and not trying to do everything all at once. So it's going to be interesting here, seeing how the future rolls out for us with knowing these new ideas.
Right. Well, like for me, a lot of times now I've been doing, I'll come home and I've set kind of one day as my day for where I do a lot of basic cleaning. And but every now and then now I'll come home. Like yesterday, I came home and I've sat for a little bit after work, but then I got up and got moving and did a couple things. And in doing that, I did one thing, and then I got that done. Oh, well, let me do this and let me do that. I carried over because I didn't think, oh, I got to do all this thing. I just said, okay, I'll do this one little thing. And the next thing I got that done. I'm like, I've got that done now. Let me go do this. And then, oh, okay, I got that done now. Let me go do that. And it kind of carried over, and I didn't feel like I was really working. I was just like, but yet I felt like I got some things accomplished, and I got done that I wanted to get done, and straightening up a little bit. And in that point, it's like, and then when I finally relaxed and chilled last night before going to bed, I was like, I was tired, and when I came into bed, turned on the TV to watch a little bit, but I didn't even really watch a lot of that. Just played a game on my phone for a little bit, but then after that, I was like, okay, I'm done with that. Kind of rolled over. I usually set my TV shut off automatically. It's just then becomes background noise, but I just kind of, within 5 minutes, I was out. But I felt good because I had really accomplished some things I wanted to do, rather than coming home and thinking, oh no, I got to do all this. And I'm just, going, I don't want it, and I changed the thought process, and I think it helped, and I think it made it easier for me to do that. And I like that process, and I'm trying to employ it more and more on some things, especially around my house, to where I've got lots of things I'm looking around and seeing lots of things I'd like to do and deal with. But I'm now looking at, okay, if I just take care of that little section right there, it'll be done. Then, and who knows, it might lead me into, okay, I got that done. Well, let's go over here and do this little section, things like that. And I think, and I'm already kind of, in my weekly habit of, on my certain day, I'm already in that habit, so it's kind of there and kind of in my mind. And when I get thrown off, I hate that because then it's like, okay, now I'm discombobulated because it's like I like to get this done on this day because of it's in my normal thing, in my normal routine. And that's the other thing, because then yes, you have to allow for life and things to happen, but it's easier to get back into that routine though too, because it's kind of already established. So that's the other part I wanted to kind of touch on, um, in how focusing on your future self, what you want, or the future area or space that you want to take care of or whatever, that type, look at that and look at, and then break it down into the little accomplished stuff that can be accomplished little by little, but you'll get a lot of the satisfaction out of it because then you're like, oh, I did this. And then it's like, oh, I can do this again. I can do this again. I can do that type of mentality.
I agree. I think that's awesome. I don't have any more to add to this chapter.
I don't either, because we're basically close to the top of the hour anyway. My time, 7 a.m. my time to 8 a.m. But for back east, for you who are already been up for hours at a time already, um, yeah, it starts at 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific. But we're here usually every Saturday for the Saturday Morning Mastermind. If you want to join us or find out more about us, click like the links below. We always have links and stuff where you can. We also have our Facebook page at it's Mindset Mastery Collective, right, on Facebook, Samantha? Okay.
Yeah, Mindset Mastery Collective. I think you can even just go to mindsetmasterycollective.com and it'll direct you right into our Facebook group. But if you search for Mindset Mastery Collective, it's going to come up in there. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, you're already seeing us inside the Mindset Mastery Collective. And I'm really excited about being able to be live on Facebook in our group. That's so exciting. So I'm looking forward to doing this regularly with this new software, especially since they're discontinuing Hangouts on Air on YouTube. So bummer for that, right? But oh well, this will work.
Yeah, and so we look forward to, if you want to join or if you want to get on the panel with us, let one of us know, get a hold of one of us. You can always find us through the Mindset Mastery Collective or look us up and, ask to join us or whatever. Let us know that you want to join and we can get you the link. And you can be on here too with us, sharing your thoughts and views as we do different books. We've been doing that for, 5 or 6 years now, Samantha? I don't know how long now.
Since 2013 now. So I think this is our sixth. We're in our 6th year, or it's 6 years. I don't know. It's
something like that.
Or maybe it was 2015 when I started. I can't remember which. It was 13 or 15. Either way, we've got like 200 and some videos on our YouTube channel, and all our playlists are divided by the books that we're studying. So you can find us on YouTube at Mindset Mastery Collective. Also, if you happen to be on Facebook, although there is a link, there's a like the pinned post in Facebook has a link to all of our playlists, our YouTube channel, and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, great. I guess we'll wrap it.
We look forward. We look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll see you later. Bye.